1967. Actually, at Haystack, I was my first weaving class, and I went to Philadelphia College of Art in Philadelphia. It's now called the University of the Arts. And I actually was at Haystack this summer before I was starting as a fabric major, textile major. Weaving has been a part of human culture for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And since it was such a big part of everyday life, it's no surprise that many of the weaving words made their way into our language. So I was saying this is a shuttle, and it goes back and forth. And people have forgotten about the weaving words, but they know about shuttling, the shuttle that goes from Logan to JFK, many times every day. And we talk about shuttling the kids here and there. We just use these words and warp and fabric, the fabric of our lives. And, it's just, if you listen for it, you will hear these words. Spinning a yarn is like telling a tale. And when people used to spin, they used to tell stories. And these little idiomatic expressions are very much a part of our language and our history. If you listen, you can sometimes hear some of the old ways in our language that we use all the time. So here's some skeins that I've dyed, and I'm using just natural dyes. These are all variations of madder root. Madder is a very old dye, used in many different countries. This looks like it has a little bit of something else in it, but this very kind of orangey red, very strong red. It's a related color, but quite different. That when you dye it, the redness of the root comes out. Some of the dye materials. This is Old Man's Beard. I can tell by the way he smells. And I harvested some Old Man's Beard, and you've probably all seen it. And it's a lichen, sort of a mossy lichen that grows on trees, usually on the north side of trees. And I used to live up in Prospect Harbor, down East Maine, and that's where I got this. And it makes this color. And the same thing, I had gathered it and dried it, and then when I got ready to dye it, I soaked it overnight and boiled it up and then strained it. And usually there's some relationship between the color of the dye bath and the color it dyes, but not with Old Man's Beard. So that was a surprise. I thought, it's not doing anything. Well, I'll put in, a piece of fabric and see. And, it did turn this sort of apricot yellow, sort of a very pleasant color, and it has this most wonderful smell. Smelled the whole kitchen up really nice. Synthetic dyes have been around. The first synthetic dye, I think, was synthesized in 1859 or something like that, and they would sort of gradually add on more colors till the end of the 1800s is when they had more or less a full range. These are walnut hulls. And it's the actual hull, not the nut, that makes the dye. The sheep give up their fleece every year. It's like they get a haircut once a year. And so wool is just very abundant. And there's different kinds of sheep. There's different types of fibers, long fibers, short fibers, soft, coarse, curly, all kinds of fibers. And then there's other fur-bearing animals, fiber-bearing animals. And then there are, cotton and flax. Flax makes linen. Silk, of course, silk cocoons, silkworms, caterpillars. But they all require processing. That now that it's all automated, we don't see it, and we have forgotten how it was done. My stepdaughter helped me do some plying, one project I had years ago, where we used a spinning wheel. And it was the first time either of us had ever used a spinning wheel. And we were plying weft for upholstery fabric, so we had thousands and thousands of yards of plying to do, and she would help me. And she was saying, you know, I've been doing this for 10,000 years. And there's some quality about all of this that speaks to many people, sort of in this human memory we hold. And even just seeing it, it reminds us of where we've